before we get started. Oh, I got a thumbs up already. Look at that. Somebody's already given it a thumbs up.
Love that. All the support.
All the support straight off the bat. Excellent news. Just wait for a little bit. Just get a couple of people signed in.
I got a little notification saying Mike Irving can go live using this.
Oh, I am going live with it, so it's all good.
Thank you, Skype, for the message.
Cool. Well, we've got a few people in already, so we will get started. Hi, Tess. How are you doing?
Hey, Mike. I'm well, thanks. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Very well. So for those that maybe don't know, who are you and what are you doing at the moment?
I would say I'm a Durham geographer to start with, but okay. I'm also a GB hockey player. I joined the GB hockey program 18 months ago when I was 19. I'm 21 now, and from a hockey point of view, I play for East Grinstead. Mm-hmm. I used to play for Durham University, but then I had to transfer down to East Grinstead, and yeah, hoping maybe to go to the Olympics next year.
That would be amazing. So you say you got into the GB program when you were 19. That's pretty young. So how did you find kind of initially that kind of move from kind of juniors kind of into seniors?
Yeah, it was definitely a surprise. I will be honest. Mm-hmm. I was in the under 23s EDP, the Elite Development Program, for Great Britain for about a year and a half, 2 years before, and I had seen the seniors. I was like obsessed with the Rio Olympic gold, and I didn't really think that Tokyo would ever be something that I should aspire to. And then I went to the Women's World Cup in 2018 in the summer, and I just sat in the stadium and I was just blown away by the atmosphere and the players, and something changed inside of me, and I was like, oh my word, this is what I want to do. And then it was actually just 2 months after that when I got a call to trial.
Wow.
And my instincts were just like, yes. So jumped into the deep end with the first week of trials, and I was a bit nervous. And you say, like, what's the difference between junior and senior? And I think probably the first one is just like the maturity of the players you're with.
Yeah.
I went in full formal, full handshakes to start with, because I thought that's the only way I'm going to be able to cope with this. The intensity of senior hockey. I mean, we're fortunate to have Paul Revington as our EDP coach, who drilled into us intensity and like perfection of your ball carry. So I was like, hey, if I get my ball carry right in this,
I'll be all right.
Then I'll be okay. Yeah, I mean, I think probably the biggest change from junior to senior was kind of like what you're playing for. As soon as you enter the team, you realize that we're doing something that's greater than just playing on the pitch. It's sort of the legacy of GB hockey, which I became very aware of very quickly, and something that is unique to that senior environment. So those are probably the things that struck me most moving up.
It's really interesting you saying that last piece and how your face kind of lit up when you were saying it's more than just playing hockey. Like it is that kind of legacy piece, and it's really nice to see how important that is to you, and just to see it on your face, like I said.
Yeah, I can't hide it, to be honest. My teammates take the mick out of me because they're like, oh my god, you're going too deep already, I imagine. But I mean, I think, like, for me it was our welcome ceremony, which I didn't know existed. But it's where the team welcome you into the squad once you've been formally invited to become part of the squad, and members of the team explain the values of the team. And the captain says a few words, the coach says a few words, and then Holly told me that I could say a few words. And so in my head, I'm like, excellent, time for a speech.
Here we go.
I just assumed that it was like, okay, this is your opportunity to speak. And I got a lot of stick for the length of my speech, but I wanted to.
How long was it?
I don't remember. It was all a bit of a blur. It was a lot of laughter and some. I probably was borderline tears. But what I tried to get across was that our values are inspire the future, be the difference, create history, and I got handed a notebook with the values on them, and that was game changer for me, because the inspire the future, which they created for the Rio cycle, I felt resonated so much with me because
I was the future.
What they were, those players, what they achieved and what they represented, massively impacted me. And just from the World Cup point of view, if they hadn't hosted the World Cup, and if I hadn't seen them, even though they didn't do as well as they had hoped, just being part of it, I think, was enough for me to see that. So I'm incredibly grateful for them, and hopefully, and that's why I feel like there's something even greater which is inspiring the next.
Yeah, and I mean that World Cup was amazing. Went to a few of the games, and that stand was so and the noise that came out of it was just incredible. Yeah, and just the hockey, the campsite that they had nearby, and they had all of the stars of the players as you walk to the stadium. Yeah.
I loved that. I mean, I've got my Instagram story for about 2 weeks was about as many games as I could get to. Yeah, I was booking my train tickets before I had even got tickets. I was just hoping someone would ring me up and say, I've got a spare,
and just sort you out a ticket somehow.
Yeah, even if it was in the sky,
doesn't matter, just got to be there.
Yeah.
So how did you get into hockey?
So I got into hockey probably because I couldn't continue to play rugby, which is a funny way to go about it, but I played for Cambridge Rugby Club on a Sunday, and then I realised, I got to the age of 10 or 11 where it was becoming contact, and I was subtly informed that I probably should not be there for the contact and try hockey. So my mum took me along to a Sunday hockey with Cambridge City, and I was like, no, I'm gonna hate hockey. I just want to go and play rugby, please. Anyway, had our first session, and I distinctly remember it was this huge obstacle course where all you had to do for the whole session was just go around these cones, try lifting the ball in the air, do whatever you like around these cones, and then the last bit was gameplay. And I came off the pitch and I was like, can I go again next week, please?
Amazing.
And I fell for the game, I think. I played at my primary school, St Faith's, and just adored it. The team aspect for me just struck me straight away, because I was probably a bit of a... I don't really know how to describe myself as a kid, but definitely sport was where I belonged, where I felt most comfortable. So, yeah. That's what gripped me.
Do you come from a hockey family?
So my mum and dad are South African, and my mum played for the provincial level of South Africa until she was probably about 15, 16, around that time. I do have to embarrass her and say that she did. we have played a ladies fives game together.
Amazing.
For Cambridge City. That was when I must have been 13 at the time or something, and she drove me to this away match, and we realised we only had 10 players, so we asked my mum, and she couldn't walk for a week afterwards, but
So obviously with everything that's going on at the moment, with lockdown and people not being able to train and all that sort of stuff, you've been doing some fairly creative things on social media, which have been really funny to watch. What advice would you kind of give to kind of young players out there who obviously things that are going to start to ease a little bit, so we'll obviously see what happens over the coming weeks, but assuming like we don't get loads of freedom, like what would you say kind of advice wise for young players?
Yeah, I think we're all kind of muddling through it at the same time. So I think the first thing is just kind of being patient and being like grateful for what you can do straight away. So like if you can go and play in the park now we can, as much as we like, then take that opportunity, and to focus on different things. I think that's what I've had to adapt to, and that's why I kind of went into the garden and dragged Johnny, my little brother, with me, because like you so rarely for me in the GB setup, you don't really get to decide what you do most days, because coaches decide, and like you have time before and after sessions, and sometimes we have like free swim sessions where you can do what you like, but just going out into the garden and just kind of like being creative with reactions with rugby balls and seeing what you can come up with has like been really quite healthy for me. So I definitely say just experiment with different things. I've learned that an exercise mat is very good as an astro.
Nice.
So
okay.
I've been bringing that out into the garden and practicing some quick drags, which have been quite fun.
Nice. Yeah, because grass is a little bit slow now, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know how it used to be played on grass, because I cannot trap a ball. Most of these videos you can see like me really trying hard to trap the ball, and it's so difficult. I cut most of the things which I missed.
The joy of editing. Cut out what you don't want people to see.
Literally.
Now, one thing I'm really keen to kind of talk about and kind of hear more about is your role with the Women's Sports Trust. Looks amazing, and yeah, would just love you to kind of explain a bit more about what it's about, what's your role in a little bit more detail, and also what's a bit more about Women's Sport Trust.
Yeah, it's been one of the coolest things in lockdown to get really involved in it, because we've been having weekly catch-ups, which have been incredible. But so Women's Sports Trust is an organisation, non-profit, to join together female athletes from across the UK to try to improve female sport participation, and we call it Unlock the Future of Women's Sport. So at the heart of the foundation are two brilliant women, Tammy Parler, and they created this organization to really just to help female athletes like discover their voice. So what I'm part of is the Game Changers Academy, which connects 40 female athletes this year with 40 activators who are leading experts in social media, in government, in like companies, businesses, who have expertise to help us sort of develop as as influencers, as role models, as to become more visible to young girls. So I'm fortunate that my activator is Susie Levy, and she works in the Home Office as a non-executive director. And it was such a cool. We had this opening. We had an opening session where we got given a letter, and you'd open up and you'd see who your activator was, and then you'd go and you'd connect with them, and then you basically, it's a bit like mentorship, to help you, sort of just someone to look out for you really, and use their skills to help you develop what you want to in any walk of life. So she's been fantastic in helping me understand what I want to do to help hockey specifically become, for me, it's about us being a pioneer for gender equality. And I'm so proud to play our sport, because I feel we are leading the way in so many respects. Just straight off the bat, just the fact that we have international tournaments that are joint, like the Stoop game, for example, was incredible.
Yeah.
And you look to other sports like football and rugby, who are struggling to get the same treatment. So on the one hand, it's sort of, I'm so proud of what we've done, but then on the other hand, it's like the commercial and the media side, not just from a gender point of view, but from hockey itself, it needs to be seen because it's such a fantastic sport and universal. The fact that I just mentioned that me and my mum played a hockey game together is just the prime example. With back to hockey, with walking hockey, I'd like to help to unlock. That's the word.
No, it's cool.
The potential, essentially. That's what it's all about.
And I know there's a lot of people out there who are really passionate about making hockey, as global hockey, far more in the public eye. And I think of people like, just somebody off the top of my head, like Bernardo from Self Pass, like how driven he is to kind of help push hockey forward. It's so nice that there are these organisations to not only push the sport, but like I say, also make sure there's better equality with women's sport, and there's that the limelight it deserves. Like it needs it as much as anything. And and I, like you say, the thing I love about hockey is the fact that you can go on a Saturday and you can watch, Premiership men's and women's like back to back. Like they're some of the best days where you can watch the men's and the women's first teams at home on the same night, like Super Saturdays. It's amazing. Like it's so good.
Yeah, and I think so. The reason why I joined or applied to be part of the sports trust was because of the work that I've been doing in my geography degree. So this year I study human geography, and I've learned over the last couple of years that you can see the world through different lenses, and one lens. Excuse me, this is quite theoretical, but you can like see the world through an economic lens or a political lens, and there's a lens which is the feminist lens, which is a tough word to say, obviously, but it's just seeing the world through the gender divisions. And this module was all about understanding how society is structured and how there is social conditioning without it even meaning to occur. So I was fortunate to be oblivious to the social conditioning when I was growing up, because I had my older brother taking me along to his rugby practice. My parents were encouraging me to go and play judo. I didn't really understand the difference between boys and girls until I was probably like 10. So I was fortunate that it never affected me, but having being able to see the effect of simple things like different school uniforms or segregated sports. That's why I love hockey, because it's not segregated, and that has so much power. I can remember we would do hockey is the only sport that you could play in sixth form. We played boys versus girls, like the rugby first team versus the hockey first team, and obviously we couldn't play rugby because we would be it would be a bloodbath, but we could all play hockey, and I just love that. So it's being able to, from a theoretical point of view, from a geography degree, to apply it to real life, and then it kind of has opened my eyes, and that's why I was like, I must be part of this. It's almost like it connects to what I felt about the GB hockey team, which is that legacy. I feel really it's something deep inside of me that I want to help young girls know that and young boys know that there is a place for them in sport.
Yeah. And so what's next with the work that you're doing with Women's Sports Trust? What's kind of the next step?
Yeah, so we all are looking to expand like our knowledge and our connections about how we can be better role models or more visible. And we all can do this in different ways. Like so for example, one of our athletes is Stacey Copeland, who is a Commonwealth boxing champion, the first UK, Great Britain winner. And she's created a organization called Pave the Way, which is about transforming or adapting societies to help pave the way for young girls and young boys to see sport as a place where they can belong. From my point of view, it all actually started with my dissertation, which I'm doing on school sport uniform and whether it should be like gendered or not, and if it's had an effect. It's an inquiry basically, an interest into that. Obviously, I have to I have to look at so much literature, but I'm more interested in what it could mean for young girls going forwards. Essentially, like whether the sport is actually practical. That's kind of what I'm interested in. It all just started from a conversation at dinner one night. As you can imagine, just talking about hypothetical, and I'm like,
I wonder.
This would be an interesting dissertation. But so I spoke to Susie Levy about like how I would go about constructing my dissertation, and then how it could be used potentially in the future for policy, in terms of like, should there just be a choice rather than it being said.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what's next from my point of view, but others have different agendas, and it's been brilliant just to connect with them and know that you're part of something big.
That's amazing. Your comment about being a role model is apt. We've just had a question come in actually. Let me just add this in here. So from Ian Foster, who has been your sporting role model?
Good question. Too many to name, probably. I think the person I've had the most contact with when I was growing up was Kate Richardson Walsh. I remember she came when I was in year 7. She came to the Perth school, and at this point, all I really wanted to do was play for England under 16. That was like, I was like, that's once I've achieved that, then I can be happy. And I remember she came and we had lunch together. I'm pretty sure we all so there's like a few of us who were invited. I'm pretty sure we just talked about what the school lunch was like. But I remember she asked, I told her that I wanted to play for England under 16, and I remember she mentioned it in her talk. She said, I know there's someone here who wants to play for England, and it was about your, I love her piece about like finding your super strengths and going for what you dream about. And I just went bright red because all my friends were like nudging me, and I was like, oh my word, this is so embarrassing. But and then the second time was after she had just won gold, and fortunately my school put on this evening with Kate and Helen, and so Sarah Richardson is our deputy head, and she's Helen's sister-in-law, so that's how there was the connection. Anyway, I remember after their talk, I sat with Kate just to say thank you, and she put her gold medal around my neck, and she said, now you go and get yourself one of these. And I just burst into tears.
Whoa!
I was like, oh my word! I could not sleep that night.
That's incredible.
But I was but I didn't at the time. I was in my under 18s, under 18 England, and I didn't want to be a senior athlete. I just didn't understand it. I didn't really. I thought it was like incredible what they were doing, but I didn't think it was like at all achievable. So just the fact that she had taken that time and she almost like believed something that I didn't believe. I think that was incredible, mate.
Kate is incredible. Having been very fortunate to work with her as her coach for a year, was just to see a tiny glimpse for a year on the inside of the way she operates. She's one of the most inspirational people I've ever known, and it's funny, like, having known it, like, sometimes you think, oh, did I actually ever say like to her how inspirational she is? But she is literally just like next level in just the way she goes about everything. You know, I remember London and the whole, you know, face injury and everything else, but more than that, just the way she conducted it herself. Every time she turned up, no matter what was going on, and I thought, you know what, you're different. You are special human. So yeah.
Yeah, I recently listened to her "Don't Tell Me the Score" podcast because I was
on my list to listen to. Yeah,
it was a couple of weeks ago, and I was really struggling with lockdown, and I was feeling like I wasn't connected to what makes me whole, which is hockey, and I just needed some inspiration. So I listened to it, and it was the thing she said at the end that really hit me hard, was about just being curious about things in life. And I think sometimes we can get so obsessed about results and wanting to learn and then like ticking it off your list. Whereas in lockdown, I've been able to be more curious about these things, about like reading different things. And curiosity leads to the courage to be curious, and the piece about being vulnerable and being courageous. What she mentioned, Brene Brown, and I just love how she can connect those things to the hockey pitch and to what we're doing, and it's inspired me to do the same.
Amazing. So, a couple of questions from Instagram. Have you ever had any long injuries which have kept you out for a little while?
Yes, well, I was fortunate growing up that I didn't have too many injuries, but I experienced my first big injury last summer at the European tournament. I broke my hand, and in the semi-final of the Euros, playing Holland. We don't need to relive the score, but it was a hard game for numerous reasons. I broke it in the second quarter. I knew full well it was broken. I was like, there is no way I'm leaving this team with a player down when this is the scoreline. So I was like, we'll just tape it up. That's fine.
It'll be fine.
I'm sure, like a bone. That's not necessary. I remember going to A&E, and Lily came with me, and she saw the X-ray first, and she was like, "You need to sit down." And I was like, "I don't want to sit down." She was like, "You need to sit down about this." And I was like, "What is it?" And she was like, "Okay, so you're not gonna be able to play tomorrow." And I was like, "Why? I'm sure it's just like a hairline fracture. It's fine." And she's like, "It's snapped completely like that." And I was like, "Oh." So it's hard to be injured, but then to have to sit and watch helplessly, watch the bronze medal, and it was more to know that they didn't have that 18th player. That was hard, to be helpless, really. But I'm grateful for it. I decided to change my tune. I went to Norway, and I don't know, the spiritual homeland of the Vikings somehow like
resonated
inflicted some wisdom into me. And I adopted this. I just used the hashtag attitude gratitude because I love these little hashtags. And I was like, that's what I'm going to live by for the next. I was like, it was 9 weeks until the Olympic qualifiers, and I was like, crikey, this is going to be close, but let's hope the bone heals quickly. So I was like downing calcium tablets every 4 hours. Like, come on, heal. But the only thing I could control was my fitness. And so I came back fitter than I had ever been. And then suddenly hockey was so much easier when I came back. I was like, oh my gosh, I now understand what they mean, that you have to be an athlete as well as a hockey player. So from that point of view, like, sorry, it's a very long answer.
That's all right.
Yes, I have had injuries.
Next one from Instagram. Was there ever a time when you have become unmotivated in hockey, and how did you get out of it? I read that really badly, but you get the idea.
I get the idea. Yeah, definitely. I think to answer how do you get out of it, I just try to go back to my why. Mm-hmm. I remember in my final 2 years of school, I had to miss Wednesday lessons because of development training. And I didn't really enjoy it at the time because the girls were much older than me. I was 17 at the time, and I didn't really feel like I belonged there. And my mum, bless her, had to take Wednesdays off and drive me up. And I really started to resent going because of what I was missing. And then I started to resent the hockey there. But what changed it for me, and when I realized that I did want to be there, was when I would go to club training, and I would have a great time there, and I'd realize, oh my word, I do love hockey. And if I want to continue, then I'm going to have to learn to love this development training. So then I started to go back and see it as a great opportunity. And once I had changed my mindset quite quickly, because I was like, well, if my mum's driving me up there every time, I'm going to have to get something out of it. And if I'm missing double biology, I really need to get something out of it as well.
Yeah.
But so I just come back to the why, which is simply for the love of the game, the camaraderie. And like at this time, like, it's hard to be motivated because you're not with anyone. You're not trained. It's easy to turn up to a fitness session when you can't be the one who doesn't do the fitness, if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
you can't be the one who doesn't do the last rep, because you're all doing it together as a team. And so what motivates me is, like, I watch a ton of video and I like making little motivational videos and watching that GB Hockey's goals of the season, goals of the week. Oh my word, I watched them like 10 times. When they're throwing it back to like 2014, I'm like, yes,
classics
through the day. Hockey is incredible. I will go out and do my run now.
I guess that kind of ties in. Kiki on Instagram also asked advice for young athletes to keep motivated during training in lockdown, and I guess it's knowing your why. I guess if you know your why, then training's easy, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely times where I have dragged myself into the run, and it's only halfway through that I realise that I'm actually really enjoying it. But sometimes I write myself a message after I've been for a run saying, remember, you really enjoy going running, you really enjoy working out, so don't pretend that you don't and then feel bad about it. The why is huge. But to be honest, like, at the same time, because we're in such uncertainty, you just have to be kind to yourself. So some days I have just not felt like I have it in me to do go for a run or do a session that I'd planned. So instead I'll just adapt it. So I had planned that I was going to do a high intensity, one of those HIIT sessions. Mm-hmm. But I just woke up and I was like, there's no way I can do this. I was like, okay, well, if I grab a hockey stick maybe this will change my mind. And lo and behold, the workout hit hockey session on Instagram was created. I was like, I can't manage listening to someone take me through some high knees and some star jumps, but I could put my headphones in and I could make up some exercise, and as long as I'm tired by the end of it, I'm fine.
Yeah, you've achieved something. So this next question is really interesting because it's what you and I were talking about before we started. So what are your experiences and tips on managing the demands between hockey, life, and work at university? And I think that leads quite nicely on to a bit of memory lane and sort of question which we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, so it was funny. Mike and I were reminiscing over this. What was it? An ACE camp.
Yeah.
That I was guest speaking at. So I think the biggest thing for me that I've learned is that you can't do everything in one day, and you can't do everything in 1 hour, and you shouldn't put these unrealistic targets on yourself. So I'd say like what I learned doing GCSEs and A levels and doing them successfully is I use this term called the minimum dose strategy. Now, some of you are thinking that means being lazy, but I assure you, once I explain it, then it won't. So it's, for example, I have an essay due in tomorrow. I'm not doing tomorrow. I have an essay that I have to do in a week, basically, and it's Monday, and I've got a lot of hockey training. So this is a true story, because I used to have Nags Academy on Monday evenings, which were an hour away or somewhere, and there was just no time. But
I remember those.
I'd have about an hour from school until we had to leave, and there was no way that I could write this essay. But the one thing that I could do was like bullet point the introduction. Or let's say I've got maths homework that's due in on Wednesday and it's Monday. Okay, well, I have a bit of time on Tuesday afternoon, but I would like to get started and it's Monday. So I'm going to do the first 2 questions. What's the minimum I can do right now that's going to help my future self deal with it later? So the same strategy can be used for like injury prevention, because in my head, if I have to do 20 minutes of injury prevention every day, like rolling or glute bridges or something, that sounds like a mammoth task. But if I say, okay, the minimum that I should probably do is, like, if I'm realistically going to stay injury free, I need to do 2 minutes of like rolling my calf and 5 glute bridges. And so now it's manageable, it's the minimum. And then before you know it, you're down on the ground, you're doing the glute bridges and you've done 20, because you're like, well, I'm here, I might as well do it. So by tricking your mind to think that you're doing the minimum, you actually end up doing
it
more
properly anyway.
That's why I say now on my runs, I'm like, okay, I'll go for a 3K. Okay, now it's 5K. Oh my goodness, it's today I was listening to Brene Brown's podcast, and the minimum, which was supposed to just be a 3K run, actually turned into a 12K run, and I was like, oh my word, just enjoying this too much. But just to answer the question in a different way, I think the most important thing that I learned muddling through A levels and now university has just been open communication, that early open communication with your coaches and your teachers. Because if you talk to them as if you take some time and plan what you're going to say to them, I'm really sorry, but I can't get the homework in until tomorrow because I've got this, or they appreciate open, honest conversations. That's something that I was probably scared to do right at the beginning, but now just a chat makes such a difference. That's probably my 2.
Nice. So we have 3 quick fire questions. So first one, what player that isn't currently playing would you most like to have in your squad today? So if you could have anybody in there, we'll say in the GB squad that isn't currently involved, who would it be?
Currently involved? Okay, we're going to have to go... To be honest, I think... So I've heard a lot about Jane Sixsmith.
Yeah.
So I've heard that she is the ultimate goal scorer. I remember coming across her. Durham played. I think she plays for
Sutton Coldfield.
Yeah. I remember their atrocious away pitch. Sorry, if anyone. But I've heard that like in her when she was playing for GB that she was unstoppable. I would love to be the midfielder to her forward.
Amazing. What are your current focus areas and goals as a player in hockey?
Good question. So I'm working on explosivity. So being able to do a quick drag, and it's the cutout after beating a player to then get my eyes up. So that explosivity. So that's from a gym point of view, and our strength and conditioning coach. I'm working on different goal shots, but Mark Hager has suggests that our forwards become sort of have signature shots and really hone in on those. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at my reverse stick low, so from around the shoulders of the D, so that people can deflect for that. And I'm looking at the things that are upright, reverse, like in the air shots, like bumps, that sort of like nitty gritty around the area.
Nice. And I think the nitty gritty area, I think, is probably one of your it's probably where you shine most on a hockey pitch, because some of the goals you scored have been unbelievable, because you just put yourself in places where I'm like, people shouldn't be there, and then Tess just appears and sticks it in the goal. You're like, okay, cool, here we go. So yeah, was it your? Now, I don't want to get this wrong. You scored on your debut for GB.
The third game.
The third game. I knew it was pretty close to you, like pretty close to the debut. That was
a random moment. Oh my god, I don't even know. I couldn't tell you what was going through my mind, but I watched back on a video and I'm like, how did you have the guts to do that? Like, what are you doing?
That was amazing. Like, it was so good. We need to try and find that and put that on socials, because it was such a good goal. So yeah, good inspiration there.
You can see how shocked I was that it worked.
You're like, oh,
actually, you can see how shocked the entire team is. Lily looks at the umpire like, is that legal? Like.
And final one, what new skills have you learnt in lockdown?
Is this hockey skills?
Let's go one hockey and one not hockey.
Okay. Hockey. I've learnt to play hockey with a football, which is easier than a hockey ball on grass. No, that's a bit of a joke. I've been really working on off the right foot drags back in big distance, like to offset. Okay, I'm playing imaginary hockey right now.
That's fine. We're all there.
And understand sort of that sort of shot.
Yeah.
Drag. Non-hockey, I've been really getting into yoga and podcasts. So it's not really a skill, but I mean, well, maybe it is a skill.
Yoga is definitely a skill. I've been doing my yoga during lockdown, and it is hard.
It is seriously.
It's so hard.
And so I've just been learning sort of the morning routine. I've been really enjoying setting up the day, and I think it's something that I'm going to take into when we're back in hockey.
Nice. Thank you so much. This has been an absolute blast, and 45 minutes have flown by.
Well, anybody who knows me knows I love a good chat. So.
No, it's been incredible to have you on, and there's been some real gems in there. We've covered so many different topics. It's been amazing. There we go. We've got one last, final. No, we're going to have to see if you can answer this one quickly.
Yeah.
So, looking back at your own experience of the England pathway, what was the best bit, and what would you change in the pathway system?
Is this Dieter?
No, no, it's not Dieter. No.
Okay. The best part was being part of the under 18 program with Sarah Kelleher, who we built a pyramid of values, and it was the first time that I understood that hockey had more than just on the pitch. So, for example, I could still recite it to you. Play hard, play fast, play forward is our baseline. Then we've got be gritty, be creative, be champions. I could go on, but each day or each camp was a value, and I think that was the best thing that could have happened at that crucial stage of like 16, 17, where I was learning that a hockey player is really about your character rather than just your skills. Something that I would change, well, they have changed it, but the whole Wednesdays development days for people who were still at school, because it was aimed at university people, that was really difficult to manage. But they've changed it to the elite development program, which is now mostly on weekends, but there is a lot that is during term time. And I think the thing that I would change is for it's related to the senior setup as well, I guess. Just being mindful of the wholesome person, and that sometimes putting demands on, say, a 17-year-old to come to Mondays and Tuesday camps when they're in the midst of exams. But to be honest, the Revs and Jodie, who's now taken over development, and Hannah McLeod, who was part of it, is still part of it. They've done an incredible job at making it more accessible, because it was turning people away, I think. But now it's looking at the wholesome person. It's just it's really on a strong trajectory.
Nice. Thank you so much. It's been a lot of fun.
Pleasure.
So stay safe, look after yourself. This is, I think we've laughed probably more on this podcast than some of them, but it's been a lot of fun. So thank you very much. And
thank you so much.
No, and look forward to seeing you on a hockey pitch soon. Like, I can't wait for this. It's going to be soon. It's not going to be long. We will get.
We've seen Holland.
I know.
I'm like, get Holland fish. Club transfer to Kampong.
No. Anybody from Kampong listening?
It's only to the pitch.
No, thank you very much, and we'll catch up soon.
Bye.